The past month, we've seen below average rainfall across much of Australia. It is important, though, that it is still raining. We still have good water storages across most of the country, and some of our river systems have still got reasonable flow, notably the Murray itself, which has got good flows downstream, even potential flooding should more rain occur. Having said that, the long-range outlook out to October is for warmer and drier conditions, and that's been consistent now for a couple of months. We are seeing things starting to warm up across Australia. So Tasmania just recorded its warmest July on record, and we're seeing generally above average temperatures, particularly in the southern capitals, over the past 4 weeks. In terms of El Niño, the Bureau continues to hold El Niño at alert status, so we haven't declared an event yet, and that is largely due to the fact that the atmosphere hasn't quite coupled or reinforced the pattern that we see in the ocean that's typical of an El Niño event. So conditions are still neutral in the atmosphere, and we'll wait for those conditions to lock in before we declare an event. But it should be noted that when we go to an alert, historically, an El Niño event does develop about 70% of the time. In terms of an event declaration or not, it's important to kind of ask ourselves why we want to know that. Largely, the Bureau's dynamical model, so our forecast model, goes out for 3 months, so to the end of October, and that's forecasting dry and warmer conditions. Should an event lock in, an El Niño event, then that gives us a bit more predictability over the summer for a dry and quite warm summer period. So that's the reason that we're monitoring El Niño going forward. I'd also just like to quickly note on some of the global conditions that we're seeing. So obviously we've had a very warm July, and there's been quite a lot of press on that. July looks like it will be the hottest month recorded globally. Sea surface temperatures, so the global oceans, have been warm now since May, and they've been setting records for each of those months. That very warm ocean everywhere, including the tropical Atlantic and the tropical Pacific, is possibly affecting the atmospheric response to El Niño. So normally we like to see temperature gradients set up in the ocean. We're not seeing that at this stage to the degree that we'd like. So historically, we haven't seen a situation like this before, where we're going into an El Niño event with record global ocean temperatures. Following a typical El Niño cycle, we would expect those temperatures to keep warming now until the middle of next year. One of the impacts of that warming has been a reduction in the growth of the Antarctic sea ice. So sea ice is at its lowest extent for this time of year ever, going from the satellite record back to the late 1970s. So it's still growing, and normally it grows up until mid-spring, the sea ice around Antarctica, but it's growing at a much slower rate. So we're missing a chunk of ice about the size of Western Australia at the moment. So it is quite a notable impact on the Southern Hemisphere's climate system.